The trial that changed everything. The massive doors of the Supreme Galactic Court sealed shut with a sound that echoed through the crystalline chamber like a death knell. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood alone in the center of the circular courtroom, her back straight despite the weight of 1,000 alien eyes upon her. The representatives of 400 worlds looked down from their elevated platforms, their various forms creating a tapestry of species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. High Chancellor Thex of the Valorian Empire raised his ceremonial scepter, and silence fell like a heavy blanket across the vast chamber. His three heads spoke in unison, their voices harmonizing in the ancient tradition of galactic justice. The Supreme Court has reached its decision regarding the charges against the planet Earth, the Chancellor announced, his words carried by translators to every corner of the chamber. The species known as humans stands accused of violating the fundamental laws of galactic development by advancing beyond their designated technological tier without proper authorization. Sarah kept her expression neutral, though her heart raced. The charges were fabricated, part of an elaborate scheme by the HFY Consortium to claim Earth's rich resources. But she had expected this outcome. They all had. Furthermore, Chancellor Thex continued, Earth is found guilty of concealing research data from the Galactic Science Council and developing weapons technology in violation of the Peaceful Species Accords. A murmur rippled through the assembled delegates. Some showed satisfaction, others uncertainty. The HFY representative, a towering insectoid creature named Zarthot, clicked his mandibles in what Sarah recognized as their version of a smile. The sentence is as follows, the Chancellor declared. Earth is hereby expelled from the galactic community. All trade agreements are terminated. All cultural exchanges are forbidden. A quarantine barrier will be established around your solar system within 7 standard days. Sarah touched the small device hidden beneath her diplomatic robes. A simple press of a button sent a coded message racing across the galaxy at speeds the Galactic Court believed impossible for human technology. The message was brief. Phoenix Protocol is now active. The message that started everything. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in facilities the Galactic Survey had never detected, Admiral Marcus Rodriguez received the signal. The underground complex stretched for kilometers in all directions, housing technology that would have stunned the galaxy's greatest minds. He looked up from his command console at the hundreds of officers and scientists who had dedicated their lives to this moment. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus announced, his voice carrying the weight of history. Operation Phoenix is now active. After 3 centuries of hiding our true capabilities, it's time to show the galaxy who we really are. Dr. Elena Vasquez, head of the Quantum Dynamics Division, stepped forward. Her team had spent decades developing the technology that would make their plan possible. All quantum gate networks are operational, Admiral. We can have ships anywhere in the galaxy within hours. And the fleet? Marcus asked. Captain James Mitchell, recently returned from a covert mission to the Andromeda perimeter, grinned. 2,000 vessels, all equipped with technology the Galactic Court believes is centuries beyond our reach. They think our fastest ships can barely leave our solar system. They have no idea we've been exploring neighboring galaxies for the past 50 years. The irony wasn't lost on any of them. While the galaxy's established powers had grown complacent in their superiority, humanity had been secretly pushing the boundaries of science and exploration. Their need to hide their advancement had actually accelerated it, forcing them to develop methods and technologies that surpassed even their own wildest dreams. The hidden truth. 300 years earlier, when humanity first made contact with the galactic community, they had been genuinely primitive by galactic standards. Their technology was crude, their understanding of the universe limited, but they possessed something that the ancient civilizations had long forgotten, an insatiable hunger for knowledge and an unmatched ability to adapt. The Galactic Integration Protocol had assigned Earth a developmental tier based on their initial capabilities. According to galactic law, humans were forbidden from advancing beyond this tier without formal review and approval from the Science Council. The process typically took centuries and was rarely approved for species deemed too aggressive or unpredictable. Dr. Michael Petrov, now Earth's chief science advisor, had been part of the original integration team. He remembered the condescending attitudes of the galactic representatives, their barely concealed amusement at humanity's primitive technology. They made a fundamental error, he explained to the assembled command staff. They judged us by our starting point, not our potential. While they were content to advance at a glacial pace, we were doubling our capabilities every decade. The decision to hide their advancement had been controversial among Earth's leaders. Some argued for honesty, believing the galaxy would welcome their rapid progress. Others, led by the visionary scientist Dr. Amanda Foster, advocated for secrecy. History teaches us what happens when advanced civilizations encounter less developed ones. Dr. Foster had argued in the famous Terra Council debates of 2387. The weaker civilization is always absorbed, exploited, or destroyed. We must appear weak until we are strong enough to stand as equals. The Phoenix fleet awakens. In the asteroid fields beyond Pluto, massive structures that appeared to be mining operations began to transform. What the Galactic Survey had cataloged as industrial facilities were actually shipyards of unprecedented scale. Ships that had been disguised as asteroids powered up their systems for the first time in decades. Commander Lisa Park stood on the bridge of the flagship Phoenix Rising, watching as her crew performed final system checks. The ship was a marvel of human engineering, incorporating technology from 12 different scientific disciplines that the galaxy didn't even know existed. Quantum drive status? She asked her chief engineer. All systems green, Commander. We can reach the galactic core in 4 hours, compared to the 6 weeks it would take their fastest vessels. Defensive systems. The adaptive shielding is operational. Their weapons are designed to counter known technologies. They'd never encountered anything like our quantum field generators. Lissa nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Humanity had spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment, but there was no guarantee their gamble would succeed. They were about to reveal themselves to a galaxy that had already judged them unworthy of membership. The secret spread across the stars. While the Galactic Court celebrated what they believed was the containment of a primitive and dangerous species, human agents embedded throughout the galaxy began implementing plans that had been decades in the making. On the trade world of Nexus Prime, Dr. Chen Wai activated a network of quantum transmitters that would allow instant communication across the galaxy. The galactic communication grid relied on relay stations that could be monitored and controlled. Humanity's network was invisible to their sensors. In the archives of the Great Library on Centauri Beta, Professor Sarah Kim began uploading terabytes of data that would expose the HFY Consortium's illegal activities. The evidence had been gathered over decades by human agents who had infiltrated dozens of corrupt organizations. On the military fortress world of Tychon's Gate, Colonel David Hassan watched as automated systems began broadcasting detailed intelligence about every major fleet movement in the galaxy. The information came from human observation posts that the galaxy's greatest powers never knew existed. The HFY's fatal mistake. Zarthok of the HFY Consortium returned to his private chambers feeling satisfied with the day's work. His species had spent considerable resources framing the humans, but the payoff would be enormous. Earth's biosphere was incredibly rich, and its location made it a perfect staging ground for expansion into unexplored sectors. His satisfaction turned to alarm when his personal communicator began flashing urgent warnings. Reports were flooding in from across HFY space. Human agents were emerging from deep cover, revealing themselves as they systematically dismantled decades of carefully constructed criminal enterprises. Impossible, Zarthok hissed to his aide. Humans barely have interstellar travel. How could they have infiltrated our operations? The answer came in the form of a holographic message that appeared in his secure chamber. A human woman with steel gray hair and cold eyes looked directly at him. Greetings, Zarthok. I am Director Patricia Stone of Earth Intelligence. For 50 years, my agents have been documenting your crimes against developing worlds. Today, that evidence is being transmitted to every major news network in the galaxy. The hologram continued as Zarthok's mandibles clicked in fury. You made the mistake of targeting Earth because you believed we were weak and isolated. You were half right. We were isolated, but only because we chose to be. Now you'll discover what happens when you threaten humanity. The galaxy learns the truth. Across thousands of worlds, Beings gathered around their information displays to watch the most shocking broadcast in galactic history. The evidence against the Ketvar consortium was overwhelming, but that wasn't what captured their attention. It was the revelation of how the evidence had been gathered. The broadcast showed human ships operating in the deepest regions of space, human agents working on worlds that supposedly had never seen their species, and human technology that surpassed the most advanced systems known to galactic science. On the industrial world of Forge, the local governor watched in stunned silence as human vessels decloaked in orbit around his planet. The ships were sleek and deadly, unlike anything in the official galactic databases. "This is Captain Reynolds of the Earth Vessel Determination," came the transmission. "We've been monitoring the forced labor operations on your world for the past 2 years. As of now, those operations are terminated." Similar scenes played out on dozens of worlds where human agents have been working in secret to document and counter injustice and exploitation. The galaxy was learning that Earth had not been isolated at all. They had been everywhere, watching, learning, and preparing. The Senate's desperate response. Emergency sessions convened throughout the galaxy as the established powers tried to make sense of the unfolding crisis. The Galactic Senate, which had voted to expel Earth just hours earlier, found itself facing a species that had apparently been playing a game several moves ahead for centuries. Chancellor Thex called an urgent meeting of the Security Council. "We must respond immediately to this threat," he declared. "Assemble the combined fleet. If the humans won't accept our judgment peacefully, we'll enforce it with military action." Fleet Admiral Corvex of the Centaurian Navy, a veteran of a dozen conflicts, looked uncomfortable. "Chancellor, with respect, we may want to reconsider. The intelligence reports suggest the humans have been operating throughout the galaxy for decades without our knowledge. Their technological capabilities appear to exceed our estimates by several orders of magnitude." "Nonsense," snapped Senator Vextar of the Hegemony Worlds. "They're primitives with stolen technology. Once we demonstrate our superior firepower, they'll surrender or be destroyed." Admiral Corvex pulled up a holographic display showing the latest intelligence reports. "Sir, they just disabled the Ketvar home fleet without firing a shot. Their ships appeared from nowhere, used some kind of energy pulse that shut down all Ketvar vessels simultaneously, then disappeared before our sensors could get a clear reading." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. If humans could disable an entire fleet without violence, what else were they capable of? The fleet that shouldn't exist. Admiral Corvex had commanded the Centaurian Navy for 30 years and had never seen anything like the sensor readings now flooding his flagship's displays. His fleet of 200 vessels, the largest military force the galaxy had assembled in centuries, was approaching Earth's solar system expecting to find a primitive civilization hiding behind crude defensive platforms. Instead, they found themselves facing something that defied everything they thought they knew about human capabilities. "Sir," his sensor operator reported, her voice barely above a whisper, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout the solar system. They appear to be coming from everywhere." Corvex studied the display, his experienced eye trying to make sense of the readings. What he had taken for asteroid fields, gas clouds, and empty space was revealing itself to be something else entirely. "Magnify Sector 7. The main screen shifted to show what appeared to be a small moon orbiting in the asteroid belt. As they watched, the rocky surface began to shift and separate, revealing the gleaming hull of a massive battle station beneath. The structure was larger than anything in the Galactic Navy's fleet and appeared to be powered by technology he couldn't identify. "How many are there?" Corvex asked, dreading the answer. "Unknown, sir. Our sensors are detecting similar signatures throughout the system. Preliminary count suggests at least 500 major installations, but the readings are inconsistent. It's as if they're using some kind of masking technology we've never encountered." Captain Lara Voss, his tactical officer, turned from her console with wide eyes. "Admiral, I'm reading energy outputs that shouldn't be possible. According to these readings, some of these installations are generating more power than our entire fleet combined." The moment of truth. On the bridge of the Phoenix Rising, Commander Lisa Park watched the approaching galactic fleet with calm determination. Beside her, Admiral Rodriguez had arrived via quantum transporter to personally oversee humanity's first open military confrontation with the galactic powers. They still don't understand, Marcus observed, watching the alien fleet maintain standard attack formation. They think this is going to be a conventional battle. Lissa nodded. Should we enlighten them? Open a channel to the lead vessel, Marcus ordered. Let's see if we can resolve this without bloodshed. The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Corvex on his bridge. The Centaurian's blue-scale face showed the strain of command as he tried to process what he was seeing. This is Admiral Corvex of the Galactic Navy, he announced formally. By order of the Galactic Senate, you are commanded to surrender immediately and prepare for the establishment of a quarantine barrier around your system. Marcus stepped forward, his Earth Defense Force uniform simple compared to the elaborate regalia worn by galactic officers. Admiral Corvex, I am Admiral Marcus Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Fleet. I respect your duty to follow orders, but I'm afraid the Senate has made a serious error in judgment. The Senate's decision is final, Corvex replied, though his voice lacked conviction. Your species has violated galactic law and must face the consequences. The evidence against the Ketvar Consortium has already been transmitted to your government, Marcus said calmly. You know the charges against Earth were fabricated. The question is whether you're willing to fight and die for a lie. Corvex hesitated. The intelligence reports had indeed been damning, but his orders were clear. I have my duty, Admiral, as do you. Marcus nodded sadly. Then let me show you what duty to humanity means. The demonstration. At Marcus' signal, the masking fields around Earth's defensive installations deactivated simultaneously. In the space of seconds, the galactic fleet found itself surrounded by hundreds of structures that dwarfed their largest vessels. Weapons platforms, shield generators, and ships of unknown design appeared throughout the solar system. But it wasn't the installations that shocked Admiral Corvex the most, it was the ships. Emerging from what he had taken for empty space, the Earth Defense Fleet revealed itself in all its glory. 2,000 vessels of various sizes and configurations, each one incorporating design principles that seemed to mock everything the galaxy thought it knew about physics and engineering. How? Corvex whispered, staring at the tactical display that showed his fleet now hopelessly outnumbered and outgunned. His answer came from Commander Park, who had appeared on his screen alongside Admiral Rodriguez. 300 years of necessity, Admiral. When you're forced to hide your advancement, you learn to make every breakthrough count. Dr. Elena Vasquez materialized beside them, her image transmitted from the Mars Research Facility. We've been studying your technology for centuries, Admiral. Not to copy it, but to surpass it. While your civilizations grew comfortable with established science, we never stopped asking what if? To demonstrate her point, one of the human vessels began to phase in and out of visible space, appearing solid one moment and translucent the next. Quantum field manipulation, Elena explained casually. We discovered it while trying to develop better hiding techniques. Your weapons can't target what exists in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. The test of resolve, Admiral Corvex faced the hardest decision of his career. His orders were clear, but the tactical situation was impossible. Attacking would mean the destruction of his entire fleet with no chance of victory. Retreating would mean abandoning his duty and facing court-martial. Admiral, his communications officer reported, we're receiving transmissions from the Senate. They're ordering us to withdraw immediately. Corvex's relief was visible. Confirmed withdrawal order. Yes, sir. All galactic forces are to return to their home systems pending emergency negotiations. As the galactic fleet began its retreat, Captain Voss turned to her commander. Sir, why did they let us go? They could have destroyed us without effort. Corvex studied the human ships one last time before ordering the jump to hyperspace. Because, Captain, they're not like us. They don't see military superiority as a license for dominance. The ripple effect. News of the confrontation spread through the galaxy faster than official reports could suppress it. On 1,000 worlds, beings watched recordings of the human fleet's revelation and began to question everything they had been told about the natural order of galactic civilization. On the trade world of Nexus Prime, Merchant Captain Zila Korth of the Independent Freighters Guild studied the tactical analysis her organization had purchased from various sources. "Look at these ship designs," she told her crew. "No wasted space, no decorative elements, no status symbols. Pure function and efficiency." Her engineer, a Regelian named Tox, nodded appreciatively. "And the power outputs. Their smallest vessels are generating energy signatures comparable to our largest freighters. How did they achieve such miniaturization? More importantly," Zeller replied, "why did they hide it? What kind of species develops this level of technology and then pretends to be primitive?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Amanda Foster, now elderly but still sharp, appeared in a galaxy-wide broadcast that somehow bypassed all official communication controls. "We hid our strength because we learned from the mistakes of others," she explained to an audience of trillions. "We studied the history of every species that had encountered the galactic powers. The pattern was always the same. The advanced civilization either absorbed or eliminated the primitive one." She paused, allowing her words to sink in across countless worlds. "We chose a third option. We pretended to be primitive while becoming more advanced than anyone imagined possible. Today, that pretense ends. The power behind the throne." In the deepest vaults of the Galactic Senate building, an emergency meeting was taking place that no official record would ever acknowledge. The true powers behind galactic civilization, representatives of the oldest and most influential families, gathered to address a crisis that threatened their control. Lord Arcturus of the ancient houses spoke first, his voice carrying the weight of millennia. "The humans have upset the natural order. For eons, we have maintained stability through careful control of technological development. No species advances without our permission." Matriarch Zendara of the Shionic Collective added her thoughts. "They've been operating under our noses for centuries. Our telepaths detected nothing. Our spies learned nothing. How is this possible?" The answer came from an unlikely source. Zarthok of the Ketvar Consortium, now facing criminal charges but still valuable for his intelligence network. "Because they're not like us," he said bitterly. "Every galactic species seeks to dominate others once they achieve power. The humans seem to actually believe in their concepts of equality and cooperation." "Impossible," scoffed Lord Arcturus. "No species that achieves such technological superiority would refrain from using it for conquest." "Then explain their behavior," Zarthok challenged. "They had the power to destroy the galactic fleet, but they let it withdraw. They could have conquered dozens of worlds by now, but instead they're broadcasting evidence of our crimes and calling for justice and fair treatment." The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Humanity wasn't following the established patterns of galactic politics because they operated by entirely different principles. The new players. While the old powers struggled to understand the new reality, other factions were quickly adapting to the changed galaxy. The Outer Rim Alliance, composed of newer species that had been marginalized by the established order, saw an opportunity they had never dared imagine. President Calavos of the Alliance called an emergency session of their governing council. "The humans have proven that the galactic hierarchy isn't based on natural law," she announced to the assembled representatives. "It's based on artificial constraints imposed by the older civilizations to maintain their dominance." The representative from New Terra Colony, a human settlement that had been established before Earth's isolation, stood to speak. Commander Sarah Kim had maintained her cover for decades, but now her true identity was revealed. "President Voss, I've been authorized by Earth to offer full technological and military support to any world seeking genuine independence from the old power structures. We're not interested in creating a new empire. We want to create a new kind of galactic community." The offer sent shockwaves through the Alliance. They had struggled for decades to achieve basic recognition from the galactic powers. Now humanity was offering them partnership as equals. The economic revolution. Dr. Chen Wei, operating from the trade hub of Nexus Prime, began implementing the second phase of humanity's plan. If their military demonstration had shown their strength, the economic phase would prove their vision for the galaxy's future. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced at the Galactic Trade Summit that was hastily convened to address the crisis, Earth is prepared to share our advanced technologies with any world that commits to fair trade practices and species equality. The proposal was revolutionary. For centuries, advanced technologies have been carefully controlled by the oldest civilizations, released slowly to maintain their economic dominance. Humanity was offering to make their most sophisticated innovations freely available. The Centaurian representative, still shaken by the military confrontation, asked the obvious question. What do you want in return? Nothing, Chen replied simply. We want a galaxy where advancement is based on merit and cooperation, not on who happened to evolve first. The silence that followed was broken by the representative from the mining guilds. You're serious? You'll share quantum drive technology, advanced material science, energy generation systems for free. We'll share everything, Chen confirmed, because a galaxy where everyone prospers is better than one where a few hoard power while others struggle. The moment of decision. As humanity's true nature became clear, the galaxy faced a choice that would define its future. The old order, based on hierarchy and controlled development, was crumbling. In its place, humanity offered something unprecedented, genuine partnership and shared advancement. But not everyone was ready to accept this new paradigm. In the shadows, the ancient houses began planning their response. If they couldn't maintain control through traditional means, they would have to try more extreme measures. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine whether the galaxy would embrace humanity's vision of cooperative advancement or try to destroy the species that had dared to challenge millennia of established order. The alliance that changed everything. 6 months after what historians would later call the Great Revelation, the galaxy bore little resemblance to its former self. The emergency summit on the neutral world of Haven's Rest had drawn representatives from over 800 species, more than had ever gathered in a single location in galactic history. Ambassador Sarah Chen, now serving as Earth's primary diplomatic representative, stood before the massive assembly. The circular chamber had been specially constructed for this moment, with every seat at the same level, a symbolic rejection of the hierarchical arrangements that had defined galactic politics for millennia. The age of controlled development is over, Sarah announced to the assembled delegates. Today, we establish the Galactic Cooperative, where advancement is shared freely and no species is held back by artificial restrictions. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Representatives from the Outer Rim colonies, the oppressed mining guilds, and dozens of younger civilizations rose to their feet in applause. But not everyone was celebrating. Lord Arcturus of the ancient houses remained seated, his ancient face twisted with disgust. You're proposing chaos, he declared. Uncontrolled technological development will lead to galactic war. There must be oversight. There must be control. Dr. Elena Vasquez, appearing via hologram from Earth's Mars Research Facility, responded with calm authority. Lord Arcturus, your control has stifled development for millennia. While you maintained artificial scarcity, we advanced beyond your wildest dreams. Today, we offer proof that cooperation surpasses domination. As if to emphasize her point, the chamber's displays activated to show dozens of joint projects already underway. Human scientists worked alongside Regellian engineers to develop better terraforming techniques. Centaurian biologists collaborated with Earth's medical researchers to cure diseases that had plagued both species for centuries. Trade routes that had been restricted for political reasons were opening freely, bringing prosperity to worlds that had been deliberately kept impoverished. The transformation begins. Captain James Mitchell, now promoted to Admiral of the Cooperative Defense Force, oversaw the integration of technologies that was reshaping the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. From the command center of New Geneva Station, humanity's first openly constructed deep space facility, he watched as former enemies worked side by side. Status report on the Regellian Integration Project, he requested from his chief science officer. Commander Lisa Park, recently transferred from military to scientific command, pulled up the relevant data. The Regellians have successfully adapted our quantum drive technology to their bioships. In return, their organic computing systems have improved our AI efficiency by 300%. The partnership between humans and Regellians had been one of the first successes of the new cooperative. The insectoid species had initially been skeptical of human intentions, having suffered under the old system's speciesist policies. But when Earth freely shared its most advanced propulsion technology, the Regelians had responded with equal generosity. And the Centaurians? James asked. Admiral Corvex himself is leading their integration team, Lisa replied with a smile. He says it's the most excited he's been about naval development in decades. The former enemies had become some of humanity's strongest allies once they realized that Earth's offers of partnership were genuine. Admiral Corvex had privately admitted to James that the Centaurian military had grown stagnant under the old system, advancing only when the ancient houses permitted it. The underground resistance. But not all of the galaxy's established powers were accepting the new order peacefully. In the hidden chambers beneath the Senate building, a different kind of meeting was taking place. Matriarch Zendara of the Shionic Collective leaned forward, her mental presence filling the room with cold determination. The humans must be stopped before they completely destroy our civilization. Zarthok, despite his legal troubles, had been recruited for his expertise in covert operations. Direct confrontation failed. Their military superiority is absolute. But they have a weakness. Explain, Lord Arcturus commanded. They actually believe in their ideals, Zarthok said with contempt. They won't abandon their principles even when it would be tactically advantageous. If we can create a crisis that forces them to choose between their safety and their values. The plan that emerged from that meeting would have horrified the galaxy's new allies. Unable to defeat humanity through conventional means, the old powers were preparing to use their greatest weakness against them, their unwillingness to abandon innocent beings to save themselves. The greater threat revealed. While the political transformation continued, Dr. Michael Petrov was dealing with a discovery that dwarfed all other concerns. In Earth's Deep Space Observatory, hidden in the asteroid belt beyond Pluto, his team had been monitoring signals from beyond the galaxy for decades. Director Foster, he called to his superior, you need to see this immediately. Dr. Amanda Foster, now in her 80s but still sharp as ever, reviewed the data with growing alarm. How long do we have? Based on current trajectory and speed, 18 months, maybe less. The display showed a fleet of ships unlike anything in the known galaxy. They were massive, dark, and clearly designed for one purpose: conquest. The signals they emitted spoke of a civilization that viewed other species as resources to be harvested. The Devourers, Amanda whispered, using the code name they had assigned to the approaching threat decades earlier. We'd always knew they might come. Michael nodded grimly. The question is whether the cooperative will be strong enough to face them when they arrive. Amanda studied the tactical projections. Even with humanity's advanced technology and the growing strength of their allies, the approaching enemy outnumbered them by a significant margin. We need to accelerate the integration program. Every species, every world, every resource. The secret alliance. Unknown to most of the galaxy, a small group of representatives from various species had been meeting in secret for months. They called themselves the Watchers, and they had been monitoring the approaching threat independently. Ambassador Tavera of the Vulcanoid Republic spoke first at their clandestine gathering on a remote mining station. My government's deep space sensors have confirmed the Earth intelligence reports. The enemy fleet is massive and hostile. Captain Rex Corso of the Free Traders Union added his organization's data. Our ships operating in the Outer Rim have detected probe vessels. They're scouting our defensive capabilities. The most surprising member of the group was Admiral Corvex himself, representing a faction within the Centaurian government that had grown increasingly concerned about the approaching crisis. The ancient houses refused to acknowledge the threat. They're more concerned with regaining their political power than preparing for invasion. Dr. Chen Y, serving as humanity's representative to the group, spread out holographic displays showing Earth's defense preparations. We're sharing everything we have with anyone willing to cooperate, but even our combined resources may not be enough. The Watchers had reached the same conclusion that Earth's leadership had come to months earlier. Only a truly united galaxy would have any chance of survival against what was coming. The revelation, the decision to reveal the approaching threat to the entire galaxy, was not made lightly. At an emergency session of the Galactic Cooperative, Dr. Amanda Foster herself appeared to address the assembly. Citizens of the galaxy, she began, her aged voice carrying across thousands of worlds via quantum communication. Humanity has kept one secret from you, not out of desire for advantage, but out of hope that it would never become relevant. The massive displays throughout the chamber activated, showing the deep space observations that Earth had been conducting for decades. The approaching fleet was massive, clearly hostile, and would arrive within 2 years. We call them the Devourers, Amanda continued. Our long-range observations suggest they are a civilization that consumes other species and their resources. They represent an existential threat to every living being in our galaxy. The reaction was immediate and intense. Some representatives demanded to know why Earth had hidden this information. Others began planning immediate evacuations of their worlds. A few accused humanity of fabricating the threat to maintain their newfound influence. But Admiral Rodriguez, appearing alongside Dr. Foster, addressed the accusations directly. We hid this information because we hoped it would never be necessary to reveal it. We've been preparing for this threat for decades, developing technologies and strategies specifically to defend our galaxy. Today, we share everything we know and everything we've prepared. The Unity Crisis. The revelation of the Devourer threat created the greatest crisis in galactic history. Some species wanted to flee to other galaxies, despite the impossibility of such a massive evacuation. Others demanded that the most advanced worlds share their defensive technologies immediately. The ancient houses saw an opportunity to regain control by positioning themselves as experienced military leaders. But it was the response of the newer cooperative members that surprised many observers. The Outer Rim Alliance, led by President Calavos, was the first to commit their entire military to the common defense. Humanity showed us that advancement doesn't require domination, President Voss announced. Now they've shown us that true strength comes from protecting others, not just yourself. The Alliance stands with Earth. The Regellian Queen, speaking through her bioship network, added her commitment. The humans freed us from artificial constraints and shared their knowledge freely. We will share the same commitment to the galaxy's defense. One by one, the cooperative members pledged their resources to the common defense. But the numbers were still daunting. The preparation. Admiral Mitchell found himself coordinating the largest military buildup in galactic history. From his command post on New Geneva Station, he oversaw the integration of hundreds of different military technologies and tactical doctrines. Status report on the combined fleet, he requested from his staff. Commander Park consulted her displays. We have commitments for over 10,000 vessels from 43 different species. The challenge is making them work together effectively. The diversity of the fleet was both a strength and a weakness. Regellian bioships could adapt to battle damage in ways no mechanical vessel could match. Centaurian vessels excelled at coordinated fleet tactics. Human ships provided advanced weapons and defensive systems. But integrating so many different approaches to warfare was proving incredibly complex. And the ancient houses? James asked. Lisa's expression grew grim. They're still refusing to commit significant forces. They claim the threat is exaggerated and that they won't subordinate their fleets to upstart species. The political maneuvering continued even as the galaxy faced extinction. Some of the old powers seemed to believe they could negotiate with the Devourers or that their ancient status would provide some protection. The final gambit. Dr. Elena Vasquez had been working 18-hour days for months, leading a team of scientists from 12 different species in the most ambitious project in galactic history. Deep within the Jupiter Research Facility, they were attempting to create something that had never been tried before. A unified defense system that could protect the entire galaxy. The quantum field generators are online, reported her Arcturian assistant, Dr. Zethkal. But the power requirements are beyond anything we've ever attempted. Elena studied the holographic models floating above their workstation. What if we linked them to the galactic hyperspace network itself? Use the energy from dimensional transit to power the shields. It was a desperate idea that could either save the galaxy or destroy the hyperspace lanes that connected civilizations across the stars. But with the Devourer fleet now only 6 months away, desperate measures were becoming necessary. The risk is enormous, Dr. Zetko warned. If the field harmonics are wrong, We could collapse the entire hyperspace network. And if we do nothing, none of us will survive anyway, Elena replied grimly. Run the calculations. We need to know if it's possible. The betrayal. While the galaxy's defenders worked frantically to prepare, the ancient houses made their final move to regain control. In a secret facility hidden in the Outer Rim, Lord Arcturus met with an unexpected ally. The terms are acceptable, said the figure on the communication screen. Its features were hidden in shadow, but its voice carried the cold authority of absolute power. We will spare your worlds and preserve your civilizations in exchange for information about the human defenses. Matriarch Zendara stood beside Lord Arcturus, her psychic abilities confirming the alien's sincerity. They will honor the agreement. Their species values useful servants. The betrayal was complete. Rather than face extinction alongside the rest of the galaxy, the ancient houses had chosen to collaborate with the Devourers in exchange for survival as a subject species. Transmit the defense coordinates, Lord Arcturus ordered his aide, and make sure our fleets are positioned to assist when the attack begins. The arrival. The Devourer fleet emerged from dark space like a plague of locusts, their massive ships blotting out the stars as they crossed into the galaxy's outer rim. The first worlds to face them were the mining colonies of the Outer Rim Alliance, and the reports that reached the Cooperative Defense Command were horrifying. They're not just conquering, reported Captain Rex Corso, one of the few survivors from the initial contact. They're harvesting everything. The populations, the resources, even the planetary atmospheres. They leave nothing but empty rock. Admiral Mitchell watched the tactical displays with growing dread. The enemy fleet was even larger than their worst estimates, and their technology was unlike anything the galaxy had encountered. Their ships seemed to absorb energy weapons and use them to grow stronger. Conventional tactics won't work, he reported to the emergency session of the Cooperative Council. We need to implement the Omega Protocol. The Omega Protocol was humanity's most desperate contingency plan, developed in absolute secrecy over the past decades. It would require the cooperation of every member of the cooperative and the sacrifice of resources that could never be replaced. The stand at Haven's Rest. The decisive battle came sooner than anyone expected. The Devourer fleet, guided by intelligence provided by the ancient houses, struck directly at Haven's Rest, the symbolic heart of the new galactic cooperative. Admiral Corvex commanded the first wave of defenders, his Centaurian fleet working in perfect coordination with Rigelian bioships and human vessels. All ships, execute formation Delta 7, showed these invaders what unity can accomplish. The battle was fierce and desperate. The Devourers fought with a cold efficiency that spoke of countless conquered galaxies, but they had never faced an enemy like the cooperative. Ships that should have been destroyed by overwhelming firepower adapted and survived through the combined technologies of dozens of species. Commander Lisa Park, now captain of the experimental vessel Unity, watched as her mixed-species crew worked with incredible coordination. Rigelian biosystems are adapting our shields in real time, her engineer reported. Centaurian tactical computers are optimizing our weapons targeting. We're becoming more effective as the battle continues. But even their combined efforts were being slowly overwhelmed by sheer numbers. The Devourer fleet seemed endless, and for every ship they destroyed, two more took its place. The sacrifice. Dr. Elena Vasquez made the hardest decision of her life from her command post deep within Jupiter's storms. The Galactic Shield Project was ready, but activating it would require a sacrifice that would change the galaxy forever. Dr. Foster, she called to her mentor, the quantum field generators are charged and ready, but someone needs to stay behind to maintain the field of harmonics manually. Amanda Foster, now confined to a medical support chair, but still mentally sharp, understood immediately. How many? 1,000 of our best scientists and engineers, distributed across the key control stations. Once the field activates, they'll be cut off from any possibility of evacuation. The silence stretched between them before Amanda made the decision that would define her legacy. I'll take the primary station myself. The field will need constant adjustment, and I know the systems better than anyone. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Director, you don't have to. Yes, I do, Amanda replied with quiet conviction. This is what we prepared for. This is why we hid our strength and developed our technologies. Not for conquest, but for this moment when the galaxy needed saving. The Shield of Worlds. As the battle raged around Haven's Rest, Dr. Foster and her team of volunteers took their positions at control stations throughout the galaxy. The quantum field generators that had been secretly installed over decades of careful preparation came online simultaneously. The effect was immediate and spectacular. A shimmering barrier of energy began to spread across the galaxy, connecting star systems and creating a defensive network unlike anything ever attempted. The Devourer fleet found their weapons suddenly ineffective, their ability to harvest energy blocked by quantum fields that turned their own power against them. "It's working," Elena reported from Jupiter Station, her voice filled with wonder and grief. "The shield is holding, but we're already losing contact with the control stations." Dr. Foster's final transmission came through clearly, her voice calm despite the chaos around her. "The galaxy is safe, Elena. Make sure they remember why we did this. Not for power, not for dominion, but because every species deserves the chance to reach for the stars." The new dawn. The Devourer fleet, cut off from their energy sources and facing a united galaxy they couldn't harvest, began a slow retreat toward dark space. They would be back someday, but not for centuries, and when they returned, they would face a galaxy that had learned the true meaning of cooperation. In the aftermath of the victory, the galaxy mourned its heroes and celebrated its survival. The ancient houses, their betrayal exposed, found themselves isolated and powerless as younger civilizations took the lead in rebuilding. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood before the memorial wall on New Geneva Station, reading the names of the 1,000 volunteers who had given their lives to save the galaxy. At the top of the list, engraved in letters that caught the light of 1,000 stars, was the name that would be remembered above all others. Dr. Amanda Foster, the woman who had shown the galaxy that true strength came not from hiding one's power, but from knowing when to use it. President Calla Voss joined her at the memorial, her expression thoughtful. "Do you think she knew how it would end?" Sarah nodded slowly. "She knew from the beginning. Humanity never hid its strength out of fear. We hid it because we were waiting for the moment when the galaxy would need us most." As the two leaders stood in contemplation, ships from 100 different worlds passed by the station's windows, their crews working together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. The galaxy had learned the lesson that humanity had tried to teach through example, that advancement meant nothing without the wisdom to use it for the protection of others. The age of controlled development was truly over. In its place rose something unprecedented in galactic history, a civilization built on cooperation, mutual respect, and the understanding that the greatest strength came not from dominating others, but from lifting them up. The Galactic Senate had condemned Earth, believing they were punishing a primitive species. Instead, their verdict had awakened a force that would reshape the galaxy and save it from extinction. Their last mistake had become the galaxy's greatest hope. And in the depths of space, monitoring stations maintained their eternal watch, ready to warn of new threats and new challenges. For humanity had learned the greatest lesson of all, that with great power came not the right to rule, but the responsibility to protect. The galaxy was safe, and it would remain safe as long as that lesson was remembered.